Greetings, friends. Welcome back to the broadcast. I'm Shawn. Website can be found at scriptureandprophecy.com. Well, today I come to you with a more somber message. And not even really sure where to begin. I had to get up extremely early to be able to do this morning. The plan was to take the week off. I'd been out of town. That's why you've been seeing the re-upload of that series, Watching for Messiah, which has been surprisingly, although I shouldn't be surprised, surprisingly timely. But with the events that have transpired over the last few days, I am unfortunately compelled to have to talk about it. Because it's an event and it's a situation that's going to impact all of us, I believe. I believe it's one of the largest, most prophetic, and most dangerous events to happen since I've been a watchman on the wall, if you will, for the last 10 years. I think most Americans don't even realize the significance of what's developing. And I assume that's the same for most Europeans as well. Because we're all just so distracted by the foolishness of social media, the foolishness of Hollywood, the foolishness of the joke that is politics. So let me stop rambling and get to the point. This is basically, let me just start by saying this. Israel is now at war, but it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to just end with Israel. And what we're talking about here is not that just some rockets were fired into Israel from Gaza and then Israel responds and then there's a ceasefire. We're not talking about the typical things that we've seen year over year, decade over decade. We're talking about full-blown actual war. And this war is going to bring in every big player. In fact, the United States has even sent over, believe, and don't quote me on it, but it's either one of or the largest carrier we have. And of course, Russia says that, according to reports that I've seen, they say they'll back basically, well, they say Palestine, but really what they mean is Hamas. So the stories that I've been getting, and these are not from mainstream news articles, these are from people that I have followed for a decade myself, that are actually on the ground. They live in Israel. One of them is a rabbi. He's not really super friendly towards Christianity, but I listen to him for other reasons. To get some insight on some things and to find out what's actually happening on the ground in Israel. And another person would be Amir Sarfati. Most of you have probably heard of him. He got started in talking about Bible prophecy and things like that about the same time that I did. And I've kind of watched him go from a few followers to a very large following. I'm going to play you an audio clip from him here in a minute. So the gist of what I understand is that there was an attack over the weekend, and it was a surprise attack. One part of it was happening against some military, another part of it was happening against literally like a party, like a concert, where they just massacred young people, took young girls, for the purposes that the most horrific thoughts in your mind can imagine. There was a slaughter of 40 children, many of them babies and young children. They were beheaded. Children were burned alive. They went into homes, so civilian home invasion, where they would torture the children in front of the parents, or the parents in front of the children, and all the most evil things that you can think of and imagine. There's reports of people being buried alive. The most horrific things that you can imagine happening in the middle of the night in your city is what happened. It's on a scale that's beyond horrific and beyond shocking. And so those are the reports coming from the ground, and I tell you these things because you cannot trust the media. In fact, I'm seeing reports of, your typical groups here in the United States of America, chanting, coming together and celebrating this evil. I don't need to mention the groups. You know what the woke groups are. You know who they are. Regardless of your position on the land and the conflict between Palestinians and Israel, what this was and what happened to little children and what's currently happening to teenage girls who were taken is beyond unhumane, beyond demonic, beyond evil. Why does this matter? Well, obviously it matters because it's your brothers and sisters. It's your fellow human beings. But it goes further than that. It will impact the West, and probably maybe even sooner than what you might expect. Let me read you this article from Michael Snider. Well, actually, you know what? I told you I was going to play the clip from... I'm going to play you two clips. First of all, you may remember a month and a half, 2 months ago, I did a podcast, and it was in August. And I said I have a feeling something's coming in the fall and winter. You may remember it. Let me just play that for you real quick, and then I'm going to transition from that right into Amir's report, the last report I saw from him, which was yesterday afternoon. At the beginning of 2020, if you'll remember, I did like a New Year's podcast. I think it was January 1st or 2nd or 3rd, somewhere in that range. And I had a feeling in my spirit that things were going to get weird. And I mentioned that on the podcast, and I said, buckle up. Things are about to get crazy. We all know what happened a few months later. I've kind of had that inclination, that feeling this year, specifically for the summer, fall, winter period. Frankly, I thought it was going to happen sooner than it has now. But I have that feeling about going into the fall and winter. The wickedness and the evil that is in power and in control of the world is beyond comprehension. I mean, the average person can't even conceive it. That's what so many people have their head in the sand, and so many people are just unaware of the evil intents. Because the average person is incapable of even thinking on the level of evil that some of the people and powers to be possess.
Hey, shalom everyone. This is Amir Sarfati. Finally, I made it home. And right now, northern Israel is under a massive drone attack. Everybody is running home right now. And I'm talking about all of northern Israel. I'll keep you posted on Telegram, but we are going to be in the bomb shelter most likely in a few minutes. But again, we're talking about massive drone attack from northeast and from the north, from Lebanon and Syria. This is it. It's begun. It started. And these are, I don't know to what extent. They talked about Tiberias and Beit Shean and Tzfat. They're talking about all of the northern border with Lebanon. This is the beginning of the war that I referred to I think a couple hours ago. I wrote on Telegram that we're expecting something big to come from the north. We saw it coming, and it is now coming. Multiple. These are drones made in Iran. These are drones that have been delivered to the hands of the Iranian proxies in Lebanon and Syria. And for the first time, massive drone attack on Israel right now. We're under attack. Northern Israel is under attack right now. Now, I called all my family members to come back home immediately. And once they will tell us that even our place here in the Jezreel Valley has to run to the shelters, we will do so. But at the moment, Tiberias, Beit Shean, Tzfat, which tell me that that's coming from the Syrian border, as well as all of the Israeli settlements along the border with Lebanon, which means they're coming from Lebanon also. All the people are running to the bomb shelters right now. So, again, I don't think we hear anything about my town, but we called everyone. Everybody's running in this town back to the house. And I literally entered the house 2 hours ago and kind of knew that something big is coming. Few minutes after I left the airport, there was already a barrage of rockets from Gaza on the airport area. But now we're talking about northern Israel, and I'm talking about everything from the Lebanese and the Syrian border towards us. So, massive, coordinated drone attack on Israel right now. I'll update you on Telegram. Again, that's the only way I can do so. But just so you know, this is the moment, probably the toughest since 1948. And again, if you follow me on Telegram, you understand that. Massive, coordinated drone attack is happening right now on northern Israel. Add to that all the barrages for rockets from Gaza. And I think that the USS Gerald Ford might have to become very active very soon. All right, I'll keep you posted. Keep praying for Israel. Again, for those of you who just joined us, there is a massive drone attack from Lebanon and from Syria. These are the Iranian proxies. Iran gave them the green light, and they are now performing that which they were created for.
All right, so there's that. That day I read Psalm 37. We're going to end with Psalm 37 today as well. There's this report from Michael Snider, and I think it hits the nail on the head. I'm going to read through some of it for you, because it gets down to the brass tacks here of why this is not just some isolated thing happening in the Middle East. It's not going to impact us. I personally think, this is just my gut feeling, and I hope and pray in the powerful name of Jesus that I'm wrong. That I'm so wrong. Everybody's been talking about World War III for a long time. If there was an event that would catapult us into that, it's what's just happened and what's transpiring right now. That's my gut reaction. Here's what Michael Snider says. He has a website called theendoftheamericandream.com. He says, I believe that the war that just erupted in the Middle East is the biggest news story in decades. Side note, I couldn't agree more. I agree with that sentence, and I don't think people realize. He says this is bigger than the war in Ukraine, the pandemic, 9/11, the Iraq war. Again, I agree. Once Israel sends troops into Gaza, the Great Middle East War will have begun. There's going to be so much death and destruction in the months ahead, and it will not just be limited to the Middle East. There will be violence in the United States and other Western nations that support Israel. In fact, I believe eventually we're going to see an explosion of terrorism in the Western world unlike anything we've ever seen before. Again, I agree with this sentiment, and here's why. Maybe you've noticed over the last decade the preparation for such a thing. By the way, you know what the headline is at Drudge right now in red? Which the Drudge report, in my mind, is a propaganda piece. It's about telling you what they're going to do before they do it type of page, in my opinion. In bright red. So if it says day 6, Gaza into darkness, Jerusalem a ghost town, and then in bright red, Hamas calls global day of jihad. That's the headline at Drudge right now. Back to this report. Over the past decades, vast numbers of migrants from countries where radical Islam is the dominant worldview have been allowed to relocate to Western nations. Do you guys think that was an accident? Do you think the powers to be were intentionally opening the borders and allowing not women and children, but adult-age men from these countries to infiltrate the Western world by the hundreds of thousands? Do you think that's what? Do you think that was all you don't think that was on purpose? Needless to say, continuing with the article, many of those migrants are very strong supporters of terror organizations such as Hamas and Hezbollah. What we just witnessed in Israel is a preview of what will eventually happen here. And that should chill you to the core. In one southern town in Israel, Hamas terrorists killed at least 40 babies and kids, and some of them were actually beheaded. He's quoting a report here that says Hamas terrorists massacred at least 40 babies and kids in a sickening rampage in one town, with some found beheaded. Israel claimed Israeli soldiers discovered scenes of an unimaginable horror in Kfar Aza, a village close to Gaza border that was captured for 2 days. Words such as barbaric and demonic simply aren't strong enough to describe what these terrorists have done. I think you get the point, my friends. I'm not going to go into every detail. I suppose if you want to look into that yourself, you can. It's worse than you think. It's what has happened to women and children is whatever you're thinking, it's worse. There's a site called True News. Some of you are familiar with Rick Wiles. I don't really agree with his viewpoint on Israel and on Jews in general, but I do agree with this headline at his website, which says World War III opened a Middle East theater on Saturday after Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel, killing at least 800 Israelis. That number's higher now. It was worse than the day for the Jewish nation since 1973 Yom Kippur War. By the way, this happened, I believe, on the last day of Tabernacles. So, intentional, of course. So, that's the bad news, right? My prayer, obviously, it's for peace. It always is. But I pray that Israel would cry out for Messiah. You know, the last thing that Jesus said to Jerusalem, you find in Matthew 23. He says, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that kill the prophets and stone them which are sent unto thee, how often I would have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gather her chickens under her wings, and you would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. Of course, he's talking about what would happen in 70 AD, and everyone knows what happened in 70 AD, but then he says this last statement. For I say unto you, you shall not see me henceforth till you shall say, Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. Baruch haba Hashem Adonai. He's quoting from Psalm 118. Baruch haba Hashem Adonai. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Adonai. We bless you from the house of Adonai. My prayer is that they would say that prayer. Baruch haba Hashem, Yehovah. I'm going to end today by reading Psalm 37. Obviously, I could just read article after article after article. I don't think that's going to benefit anybody. I think you get the point. I think you, surely I've at least covered the headline of what happened, what's happening, and where I think it's going. So you need to be in prayer. This is serious, and it will impact us all, make no mistake. Unless the Lord intervenes quickly. Psalm 37. Let's open up our hearts and receive this truth. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thy heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be, yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnashes upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he see that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy, to slay such as be of an upright conversation. Their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord upholdeth the righteous. The Lord knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied, but the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of the Lord shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume into smoke, they shall consume away. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now I am old, and yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful, and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell evermore. For the Lord loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever. But the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. The wicked watches the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. The Lord will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on the Lord, and keep his way, and he shall exalt thee to inherit the land. Then the wicked are cut off. Thou shalt see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together, the end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord, he is their strength in the time of trouble. And the Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him. That, my friends, is the broadcast for today. Be in prayer. Be in prayer. Seek the Lord. I don't think it's any mistake that God led me to rebroadcast that series, Watching for Messiah, at the exact moment that all of this was happening. I had that preloaded to release before the weekend. Keep your eyes on him. We may be entering into a very challenging season in human history. But the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into him and they are saved. Peace and grace be with you. And until next time, God bless.